A thread from Carlos Oswita. Andy 5442891 is trying to be clever. Andy 5442891 asks Carlos in a tweet, simple question, Nazis, left or right wing? This is an attempted trap. It's actually a false choice. A better question is, what Nazi policies can be considered right-wing or conservative? There's a vast continuum of ideologies that crappy political scientists label right-wing, but of course they're wrong. What defines conservatism in the Western world? Representative government, individual freedom, property rights, a free market, a respect for the rule of law, and a respect for societal norms that promote stability. That's it. Nazism, dictatorship, no freedom, no property rights, a centralized economy, arbitrary application of laws, no respect for societal norms. The Nazis ruled by terror. That's not the rule of law. Under the rule of law, the accused gets a fair trial, innocent until proven guilty. A lot is made of the Nazi abhorrence of degenerate art. Really? Here's Nazi art. Der ewige Jude, ein Dokumentarfilm über das Weltjudentum. So there's some Nazi art for you. That's pretty degenerate. Even the wholesome paintings and sculpture of the ideal German. There's quite an emphasis placed on the genitals. It's pornography, disguised as wholesomeness. The Nazis were sex-crazed maniacs. What exactly is conservative about Nazism? Nationalism? The Chinese are rabid nationalists. Does that make them conservative? The Vietnamese are rabid nationalists. The Russians were rabid nationalists and racists. That's why Stalin changed his name from Joseph Bessarionis Dzhugashvili to hide his Georgian origin. Russians use the N-word to describe Georgians. Is racism conservative? If so, that makes radical leftists the most conservative people on earth. Sarah Jong, New York Times freak. I mean, you might have heard of her. She really hates white people. Anyway, moving on. Conservatism is isolationist by nature. Neocons were a failed experiment in expansionist conservatism. That's why neocons hate Donald Trump. He opposes expansionism. Trump created nationalist internationalism. America first, but we'll help when asked. Leftists are by nature expansionist, by force. That's why we saw the riots. A very interesting thing has happened. Vice President Pence said this: we have no tolerance for violence against any individual in this country, no tolerance for police brutality, and no tolerance for rioting in the streets or looting, the destruction of property, or the claiming of innocent lives, including the lives of law enforcement. That's one of the reasons the president took the strong action earlier this week, working with governors to deploy resources and personnel to our streets. And I'm pleased to report that in cities across the country, we've quelled the violence and made space for peaceful protesters to continue to let their voice be heard. The violence stopped in 3 nights. There was kinetic action, no doubt about it. I heard some of it myself. But the cheesecake marches continued without violence. What do we want? Cheesecake. When do we want it? Now. Trump used leverage. He knows exactly who's funding all of this. Very important. Listen to this next part. It's extremely important. His people went to see all of the people funding Antifa and said, now, the president has every legal authority to declare Antifa and associated groups international terrorist organizations. Guess what that means? Asset forfeiture. Everything you own, all your money, all your holdings, you become homeless. So, rather than take that step, the president would ask you to tell us everything you know, including your contacts. Go ahead and tell everyone we were here. Then Antifa labels you a rat, and they come after you. All your businesses get canceled. They make your life almost as bad as it would be if Trump makes you homeless. So, what do you say? The National Guard and other military units, not generally known, left Los Angeles. Tonight, we had a march of 20,000 or so cheesecake lovers. No violence. The word went out. Stop, 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 stop. If Trump were Hitler, all the protesters and the backers of the rioters would be dead. Trump let the hapless blue state governors and blue city mayors pretend that they had stopped the violence. Too late. Democrats equal riots. Leftism equals riots. Conservatives believe in the rule of law. The press says that the Boogaloo movement is right-wing, but it's actually nothing but enormously fat gun nuts who can't think and who believe everything under the sun. Leftists want a civil war. Why hasn't there been one? Why haven't armed conservatives all over the country gone out and mowed down rioters after the cops got overwhelmed? Because conservatives aren't lawless. Nazis were lawless. Hitler was the law. The Chinese Communist Party is the law. The Norwegian Labour Party is the law. Nazis were about as right-wing as Stacey Abrams. And yes, there were black Nazis. They fought for Hitler. Historians try to hide this fact. It doesn't fit the narrative of right-wing Nazism. The Nazis were nationalist, expansionist socialists. Donald Trump has virtually nothing in common with them, as any moral person knows.